Welcome, Henniker. Just a couple exciting things to bring to your attention. I hope by now you received the mailing that came from the church. The mailing with our offerings of fall programs, opportunities to come and be in person in small groups in our parish hall, or chances to come together and learn online. Whatever way you're comfortable with is fantastic, but what really matters is that you get engaged. This is a moment in our life when we need to lean in and feel the guiding of God's presence. So come be part of this season of resilience. Come be part of this fantastic, vibrant, life-giving congregational church. Come be part of our learning together. I look forward to seeing you, in person or online. I look forward to learning with you. I'm also really excited today to welcome Mr. Patrick Marr, our new minister of music. All of the music that you'll hear throughout our service today was recorded by Patrick. He has an abundance of gifts, a stellar personality, and most importantly, a very loving heart. And I'm thrilled to be working with him. So enjoy, welcome him, be hopeful, be alive, and be with us in this time of worship. Come, let us be community.
Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do you say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, but others Elijah, and still others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven."
A few months ago, we began teaching our daughter how to drive. That day of the first lesson, I stepped into the car and I felt all those normal feelings that you would expect a parent to have handing over the keys for the first time. The butterflies were flipping around in my stomach as I felt nervous and overwhelmed at how could this possibly be happening. But there was one thing that I experienced that was a complete surprise to me. It seemed that I was completely incapable of giving instruction on how to do this thing that I've done for decades. The most basic components of driving, such as how do you turn the steering wheel correctly, seemed beyond my capacity to name. I was shocked. I've been driving for a really, really long time, and I think I know how to do it pretty well. So why was it that I couldn't explain it in a way that my daughter would understand? I guess it seems like sometimes things become so normal, so natural, such a part of us, that we don't really take the time to understand their fullness. Today we get to hear a conversation between Jesus and Peter. He's not Peter yet, he's actually Simon when this story starts. But we have a wonderful opportunity to listen in as we hear Jesus ask this age-old question: who am I? Who am I? Now Simon answers, Jesus, those who know you and are gathered around you, well, some say that you're John the Baptist, and others, they say you're Jeremiah or another great prophet. Jesus isn't really content with that response, so he says, yes, but who do you say I am? Simon leans in and he says, you're the Messiah. And Jesus is pleased with his response, and so he praises him and he gives him a new name and he sets him on a mission. I wonder how often we walk through our lives not fully seeing who and what we are. How many times do we feel ourselves exactly as I did the day of that first driving lesson? We go through the motions of life, but when asked what is our living all about, we're at a total loss for words. It seems that many of us have come to take for granted the complexity and the beauty of life. When I listen to this scripture passage, I don't think that Christ is asking Peter or those around him to pass some sort of litmus test. The question of who am I is not a question about who's on Christ's team and who's being left out. Rather, Jesus is inviting the disciples into a deep spiritual learning. To be truly alive, we must understand exactly who we are. But that understanding can't be determined using old standards and the expectations of the world. To understand our deep purpose, we need to see with eyes of faith. We need to gaze with love. We need to use the lens of gratitude. Because too often we evaluate ourselves using a measuring stick of success or achievement or productivity. And often we find ourselves coming up empty. But when we examine ourselves through the eyes of faith, we see that love is what matters, not achievement. We see the care that we extend defines our nature, not the success that we have attained. To know who we truly are is to see with eyes of gratitude, noticing the expanse of giftedness, blessing, beauty, joy that God has sown into the fiber of our being, and seeing the wonder of our lives, we can find the purpose of our living, to share our love, to give our wisdom, to extend our compassion, to offer our care. But to see with the eyes of faith, we need to notice the fullness of God all around us. Why is it that Peter understood who Jesus was when all those in the crowd couldn't? You see, Peter had noticed the miracles, the healing. Peter had noticed the ways that Jesus sat and listened, that he loved and cared, that he understood even those who were on the edges and the margins. Peter noticed that Jesus saw the world with a different set of eyes. And so he understood that to know who Christ was, he couldn't use the framework of what once was. He needed to use the understanding of faith. Christ knew As he challenged Peter and the disciples to see his purpose and his presence, he knew that in understanding his purpose, they would gain insight into their own lives. In this gift of providing a new way of understanding who we really are, Christ sets into motion the call and the purpose of the church to love one another fully, wholly, and well. To be a people who follow the way of Christ requires us not to look upon our existence with the eyes of our old standards of living, rather to gaze upon our being with eyes of hope and faith and gratitude. To live our life wholly and completely and well means we need to take the time to see with our heart, to see with our soul, to see with all of our being the absolute wonder of life, of our life, of the life of those around us, of the lives of every single sojourner on this planet with us. So I hope today that you will see beauty. I hope today that you will recognize the holy within. I hope today that you will dedicate your living to spreading love and planting kindness, and that you will never take for granted the gift of this life. And that one day, when you ask that question, who am I? You, like Christ, can understand and proclaim that I am a giver of God's love. May you know it now, and may you know it always. Blessings, peace, hope, may they be with you.